In this training session, I'm going to dive into the exact thing you need to do to ultimately be the most free man you possibly can be, even if you have a wife and a mortgage and kids and a dog and you got all these things that are pushing against you in this training session right now. Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Dr. Dave. Welcome back to this Unbreakable Man training session. In today's training session, we're going to be talking about just what I said earlier, how to be the most free man you possibly can be so that you can show up in the world as your best self in the best capacity and do ultimately your best work. And what this looks like is actually not necessarily a running away. Freedom, let's define freedom number one. Freedom is not necessarily being away from all people or all things. You actually have to find freedom within your own self and find freedom within your own heart. Now, the way for you to do that is ask yourself, what belief system, what BS have I had that I believed I had to show up in a certain way for, and write these out, for my family, for my company, for my career, for my finances, for my health? And ask yourself, what belief system do I have that I needed to show up in a certain way for these other people? And why I want you to start there is because once you understand that, then you're going to be able to truly stop and say, oh, I get it. I was trying to show up as this individual that was not authentic, that was not transparent, that was not in my own being, in my own nature. And so because of this, I was trying to be somebody else for everyone else in my world. And you see, that is the opposite of freedom. Freedom really, at the end of the day, is just knowing that you are your most authentic self, that you're showing up in the world as the individual that you want to be. I'll give you a perfect example. When I was a kid, one of the things that I really sought after was, again, freedom, but it was also a connection to my parents and love. And I got this training from Tony Robbins. He talks about this a lot. And what he talks about is, whose love did you crave the most? And for me, it was my mom. And in order for me to receive love from my mom, I actually had to be something. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that she actually wanted me to be something. I actually linked up in my own head this belief system that I had to be a certain thing. Otherwise, I wouldn't get the back scratches and the hugs that I really, really wanted as a kid. So I had to show up as a more dimmed down version of myself. You see, I'm an enthusiast on the Enneagram, if you know what that is. I'm an excited individual. I love life. I am a passionate individual. I want to live to my fullest. I want to express at my fullest capacity. And so I had to dim my light down in order to be received because I was just too much. As a kid, I was just like, oh, a lot of kids now, they're getting this ADHD, this diagnosis, and I probably had that as a kid. But at the time, I wasn't diagnosed, but I knew I was just like, I loved life. I just wanted to run. I just wanted to be free. I just wanted to get out there. And so I actually had to dim down my light in order to receive that thing I wanted, which was love and connection. And so I actually had to take my sense of self, my authentic sense of self, that sense of self that was the most free individual, and I had to put that away. And the second I put that away and I started dimming down my light and I started not showing up in the world as a more authentic version, well, now all of a sudden I'm getting the love I want. But what I was really doing was sabotaging my own sense of freedom, and so I wasn't feeling that freedom. And that's the start. That's like the little pebble that starts to grow. It's like the seed that you plant in the ground, and then it starts to grow this massive tree that's like in the middle of your house. And you're wondering, why is this tree here? It's because this little seed, when you were either a kid or even when you started having a relationship with your significant other, you stopped being an authentic version of yourself and you started showing up for them rather than for yourself. And so what I want you to do today is I want you to get authentic and I want you to get transparent. I want you to get honest with who you are and what do you need in order to be a more free individual. What is the truth in yourself? What are you really genuinely looking for? And then you can step into actually going into those old belief patterns and start looking at, hey, what was I doing in order to show up for other people? Ask yourself, what do I need right now? What do I need to be the most free individual I possibly can be? Maybe you need to go on hunting trips. Maybe you need to play guitar. Maybe you need to go watch football with your boys, whatever. Maybe you need to go play some golf. Maybe you need to meditate and run the beaches, whatever that thing is. Write down a list of things that you need first, and then you can start to really uncover, hey man, I was like showing up in the world for this other person first. I was, as an example, I personally was looking it through my business to support my family rather than seeing my business as a support for myself, because I love my business. But the second I saw it as a support for my family, I actually wasn't in my authentic space. I wasn't in my nature. And so I wasn't showing up as my fullest capacity. And so that's the exact example I'm explaining to you right now. So look at your belief systems. Once you have your list of exactly what do you need to do in order to be your most free individual, and then look at your belief systems about how are you showing up for other people in your life. And once you do that, then you can start to surrender those and start to give those away back to the universe, back to your creator. All right, guys, this was a perfect example of how to become a more free individual, of exactly what you need to do to show up in the world as your most authentic self. Be that man that you know you can be, live that life you know you can live, and ultimately do the work you were meant to do on this earth. I absolutely encourage you to do that. Guys, thank you for watching today's training session, and we'll see you out there next time.